states of matter. Have you ever wondered why ice melts or how water becomes steam when heated? In order to know about matter, let us explore the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas, and how they change. Matter. Matter is everything around us. It makes up everything we can see and touch, and even the air we breathe. The chair we sit on, the water we drink, the air around us, and the food we eat, all are made of matter. Matter is anything which occupies space and has mass. Do you know, light is not considered matter as it does not occupy space and has no mass. What is matter made up of? Matter is made up of very small particles that cannot be seen with the naked eye. These particles are called molecules. A molecule is the smallest particle of any substance that shows all the properties of that substance. Different materials are made up of different molecules. For example, the molecules in paper are different from those in rubber. Molecules are further made up of smaller particles called atoms. They are the building blocks of matter. These atoms are so tiny that we cannot see them with naked eyes. Different states of matter. States of matter refer to the different forms in which matter can exist. Matter usually exists in three states: solid, liquid, and gas. Each state has its own properties and behavior, like how solids keep their shape, liquids flow, and gases fill up the space they are in. The state of matter depends on how the particles are arranged and how they move. Let us study the properties of each state of matter. Solids. Shape. Solids have a definite shape and size. They do not change shape by themselves. Volume. Solids have a fixed volume. The space they occupy does not change. Particles. The particles in solids are closely packed together and cannot move from their place. Examples: tables, cars, books, chairs, etc. In some solid substances, the molecules are less tightly packed than other solid substances. Hence, these solid substances can change their shape when pressure is applied on them. For example, a sponge ball is a solid substance but changes its shape when we press it. Liquids. Shape. Liquids do not have a definite shape and size. They take the shape of the container in which they are kept. Volume. Liquids have a fixed volume. The amount of a liquid remains the same even if its shape changes. Particles. The particles in liquids are less tightly packed than in solids, which allows the liquids to flow freely. Examples: water, oil, milk, juice, etc. Gases. Shape. Gases do not have a definite shape or size. They spread out to fill the container in which they are kept. Volume. Gases do not have a fixed volume. They expand to fill the space available. Particles. The particles in gases are far apart as compared to that in solids and liquids and move freely. This allows them to spread out and take the shape of any container they are in. Examples: air, oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, etc. Smoke and water vapor, steam. Do you know, apart from these three states of matter, there is a fourth state called plasma. It exists at extremely high temperatures, such as those found in the sun. Change in state of matter. The change in state of matter is the process by which matter changes from one state to another. It happens by heating or cooling. This is how we see things like water changing its state into ice or steam. A solid may change into a liquid when heated. For example, solid butter can turn into liquid butter when heated. A liquid can change into a solid when cooled. For example, liquid chocolate can turn back into a solid when cooled in a refrigerator. Melting. Melting is the process in which a solid turns into a liquid. When a substance is heated, its particles absorb heat and gain energy. They begin to move faster and spread apart. This movement allows the solid to change into a liquid. Every substance has a specific temperature at which it melts, called the melting point. For example, ice melts at 0 degrees Celsius. This process is commonly seen in everyday life, such as when butter melts in a hot pan or when ice cream melts in hot weather. Freezing. Freezing is the opposite of melting. It is the process in which A liquid turns into a solid when it is cooled. When the temperature drops, the molecules in the liquid lose heat, slow down, and come closer, eventually forming a solid. Every substance has a specific temperature at which it freezes, called the freezing point. For example, the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius. Examples include ice cubes forming in a freezer and snowfall in cold weather. Evaporation. Evaporation is the process in which a liquid turns into a gas. This happens when the liquid is heated and its particles move faster and spread out. It happens only on the surface of a liquid. Some particles on the surface gain enough energy to leave the liquid state and become gas. Boiling water turning into steam, gas, wet clothes drying under the sun, and puddles drying on a hot day are examples of evaporation. Condensation. Condensation is the process in which a gas turns into a liquid. This happens when a gas cools down. Its particles slow down and come closer to form a liquid. For example, when warm water vapor present in the air touches a cold surface, such as a cold glass or a window, it cools down and turns into tiny droplets of water. This is why we often see water droplets on the outside of a glass filled with cold drink or on bathroom mirrors after a hot shower. On winter mornings, tiny water droplets appear on grass or plants due to condensation as water vapor in the air cools down and changes into liquid state. Do you know, some substances convert from solid to gaseous state without converting into liquid state. This process is called sublimation. For example, camphor, naphthalene balls, etc. A common example that shows the conversion of all these states is water. When ice melts, it turns into water, solid to liquid. When water boils, it turns into water vapor, liquid to gas. When water vapor condenses, it turns into water, gas to liquid. When water freezes, it turns into ice, liquid to solid. Solute, solvent, and solution. When a liquid dissolves one or more substances in it, the mixture formed is called a solution. The substance that dissolves in the liquid is called the solute, and the liquid in which the solute dissolves is called the solvent. The ability of a solute to dissolve in a solvent is called its solubility. Water is known as the universal solvent because it can dissolve a variety of substances. Substances that completely dissolve in water are called soluble substances, like sugar, fruit juice, and salt. Substances that do not dissolve in water and remain undissolved or settled at the bottom are called insoluble substances, like stone pieces, sand, chalk powder, and sawdust. Do you know, solution can be unsaturated and saturated. An unsaturated solution can dissolve more solute. A saturated solution cannot dissolve more solute. Extra solute stays at the bottom. Separation of substances. Separation of substances is the method of removing one or more substance from another when they are mixed together. It is like picking small stones from a pile of rice or separating sand from water. We can use different methods to get what we need from a mixture. Some common methods for separating insoluble solids from liquids are filtration, sedimentation, decantation. Filtration. Filtration is used to separate insoluble solids from a liquid using a filter, a piece of cloth, paper, or a filter funnel. It allows only the liquid to pass through it, thereby leaving the solid particles behind. For example, when we make tea, the tea leaves are separated from the tea using a tea strainer, filter. Sedimentation and decantation. Sedimentation is the process in which heavier solid particles present in a liquid settle at the bottom over time. When a mixture is left undisturbed, the solid particles slowly settle at the bottom due to gravity. For example, in muddy water, the dirt or mud deposits at the bottom, leaving clear water on top. Decantation is the process of carefully pouring off the liquid from a mixture, leaving the solid particles behind. After sedimentation, the liquid is gently poured into another container, leaving the solid in the other container. For example, after sedimentation of muddy water, the clean water is decanted into another container. It is also possible to separate soluble solids from liquids, such as a mixture of salt and water. We will learn about more advanced ways of separating substances in higher classes. Key words: matter, anything which occupies space and has mass. Molecule, smallest particle of any substance that shows all the properties of that substance. Atoms, building blocks of matter. Melting, the process in which a solid turns into a liquid when it is heated. Freezing, the process in which a liquid turns into a solid when it is cooled. Evaporation, the process in which a liquid turns into a gas. Condensation, the process in which a gas turns into a liquid. Melting point, the temperature at which a substance melts. Freezing point, the temperature at which a substance freezes. Solution, a mixture where solute dissolves in solvent. Filtration, the process of separating insoluble solids from a liquid using a filter. Sedimentation, the process of settling heavier solid particles in a liquid at the bottom. Decantation, the process of pouring liquid from a mixture, leaving solids behind.
Let's recall. Matter. Different states of matter. Change in state in matter. Solute, solvent and solution. Separation of substances. Solids. Liquids. Gases. Melting. Freezing. Evaporation. Condensation. Solution. Solute. Solvent. Filtration. Sedimentation. Decantation.